This meeting is called to order on March 30th at 11:02. And I believe we do not have a trustee joining us at this point. So let's skip to the Pledge of Allegiance 2.2. Jamie, lead us.
Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everybody. Let's go to roll call establishment of quorum. Do we need to do that if there's nobody here remotely?
For the record, trustee Beggs and trustee Nicolau are
Here.
quorum is established.
All right, and, unless Nancy joins us, we will skip 2.4. We go to 2.5. Are there any changes in the order of business? No. Right, acceptance of minutes from the February 2nd meeting. The recommended action is that the Board Policy Committee accept the minutes of the February 2nd, 2026 Board Policy Committee Standing Special Meeting.
So move.
I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Are there any public comments? 2.7. Three point one administrative procedures. So let's see.
Those are provided as information items in relation to your discussion in 4.1.
Okay,
4.2, I apologize for
that's
that.
okay. Apologies. Okay. Then we have the 4.1 is the YCCD Policies and Procedures Committee update. I believe that's you.
So you all were provided an earlier copy. However, the only difference in the copy that you all were provided is that now the ones that were for the board have shifted up, and we have new for your first reading. There's only one more meeting at the district level for the policy and procedures that will be held on April 15th. And then we will go on a break until the summer in August. We will return. So they have began with this April 15th meeting, will be introducing chapter 5, comprehensive review. So we are now moving into chapter 5. So, okay. They're moving at the lower levels. We have a group of for you all. So you notice on the agenda today, you have about 13. It's because we're just trying to get through these last few annual updates and also some of the chapter 3 reviews. So we can get into chapter 4, finish up chapter 4.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So 4.2 is first reading preview. The following. Yeah.
Let me know if you'd like me to pull them up as you bring them up.
Might as well. Let me go through them at least. Okay. So we have the list there of the policies that are up for review. 5.1 is request for future board policy committee agenda items. Do you have anything?
I do not.
Okay. Let's go ahead. 2015 student memo. Have any comments on 2015? Any?
I don't have comments until we get to the records request. Do you have any?
Okay. 2105, the election of student member. I did have a comment on this one. PAP with the policy. It has crossed out the selection of the student representative will alternate between Columbia College and Modesto Junior College annually. And I think we need to keep that.
By law, we can't keep that. So
By law?
yes, Lozano did a review of our student trustee, student member policy, as well as the election of it. We cannot by law require anything that's outside of ed code for the student trustee. So in addition to what the requirements are, so we can't say that the student has to come from MJC or has to come from Columbia. The student has to come from the district. So it can be one member, but we can't dictate whether the student comes from MJC or comes from
Is
Columbia.
this a new law? It's a big
It's-
change.
We
We
were
have to-
outside, we were adding something to, what is it, title?
Could we soften it and say something like it is the hope of the trustees?
Can you show us where that lies? Can you look it up? Because the reason I'm asking is because I would think that Columbia would be upset. Because to me, we've always had the caveat that if no student runs or is available from Columbia, which has happened a couple times, then the MJC students do it. But it seems like
They
we're
wouldn't do it at that point. The only reason why Matthew, our current student trustee, got in this time was because he was a write-in candidate. It was supposed to come from Columbia. However, because of the issue of a write-in person had the most votes at the time, we had to go to our legal counsel. And so Lozano Smith is the one that said, after review, you actually, and I'm trying to bring this up here. She has said it. Michelle
theoretically, we
Hannon.
might not have another student trustee from Columbia because MJC is so much bigger. They could always do a write-in and wipe out the chance for Columbia. I can't
At this
imagine that's the
point.
intention of the law.
So student trustees are governed by Education Code Section 72023.5, which requires that community college governing boards include one or more student members and set forth eligibility requirements for student trustees as well as election procedures. In terms of the eligibility requirement, it provides as follows. A student selected to serve on the governing board shall be enrolled in a community college of the district and shall be chosen and shall be recalled by the students enrolled in the community colleges of the district in accordance with procedures prescribed by the governing board. A student member shall be required. Okay, that's okay. That's recording that time. That's just my backup so I can have extra. And okay, so a student member shall be required throughout the term of the student member's appointment to be enrolled in the community college of the district for at least 5 semester units or its equivalent, and shall meet and maintain the minimum standards of scholarship for community college students prescribed by the community college district. As you mentioned, in addition to those eligibility requirements, both the district's board policy, BP 2105, and Administrative Procedure AP 2105 add an eligibility requirement that student trustees alternate annually between Modesto Junior College and Columbia College. However, as explained in an Attorney General opinion from 1979, a community college district governing board may not establish eligibility requirements for student members in addition to those set forth in Education Code Section 72023.5. And it goes on. She goes on to detail, but based off of, we can't add to what.
Can I stop you there just for a second? It's confusing because an eligibility requirement sounds like your GPA or how many classes you're taking. It doesn't sound like what college you're from.
That's what she
Because
identified.
that's what doesn't make, am I making sense?
It's enrolled in, the law says it's enrolled in a community college of the district. It doesn't say you have to be enrolled in.
I get that, but
or enrolled in Columbia College. And that's the reason why she's saying that what we're adding in is adding in a caveat that is not, that's adding additional qualifications or requirements that should not be added.
Well, okay, so I'm going to ask for further, I'd like to have the attorney maybe present with us at some point because this doesn't make sense to me because there are districts that have different students from different colleges.
But they have multiple.
Doing a
trustees.
look on Google AI, the 1979 opinion clarified that the selection process must be democratic, involving the entire student body, rather than being appointed or selected solely by a smaller student government body. So essentially they're saying,
ASMJC.
well, it can't be it has to be the entire group. And so, that means that the election needs to cover both colleges.
If I may.
One election for both, oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's how the election process has been. We've just only forwarded a name from Columbia or forwarded a name from MJC. So that has
But it's
been our.
always been both colleges, but that's
It's
what I
always been
thought,
both colleges.
colleges, but I thought it was one or the other.
The board can make a choice to identify that we want two
Right.
trustees. Now, that's something
I've said
that you
that.
can do. Correct, and I know that there's been interest in doing that. The AS student bodies are the ones that haven't agreed to come to terms, right? Because this is a district-wide policy.
Right.
And so both of them have to be in agreement to bring forth a student trustee. Now, there is conversation happening. However, I think one of the concerns of the students up there is, I mean, we know the distance of traveling up to Columbia College. So now,
It always has to be
Protest.
softened, like Jenny was saying earlier, it has to be something like, we would prefer to have a student from each college. But we know that sometimes we're not going to get them, so.
If you did
it's a
have
preference,
And I guess we do need legal help. So I'm thinking this
Yeah.
one gets pulled, but if we did have to, based on anyone's understanding, what are the chances it would end up becoming two MJC versus one of each?
yeah.
the board, I think the board would have to decide. We would like to have a student from Columbia. We would like to have a second student from MJC so that both of our colleges are represented.
Yes,
However, now I'll bring the next layer. Everything works out, you have two students. If you're requesting the students to participate at the same location that the board is, that means 10 times out of the year, a student from Columbia will have to come down here, right? Versus if you had, 6 and 6,
Right.
6 meetings there, 6 meetings here, so it's equivalent for both, and
they would get mileage, just like we do.
they would get mileage, but then you're thinking of time, right? Their time, their students, and the weather challenge that we run into, right? And so I know that there's,
But we
The
have had
interest-
Columbia students before.
yeah,
Who
there's
have made the trip and haven't had.
for 4 meetings. But not every time, they might have missed a meeting or so.
Yeah.
So
We have
There-
choices.
there is discussion right now at the Associated Student Body level. I think MJC has a resolution where they're interested in bringing forth two.
Mhm.
Columbia is entertaining it. But I think there's interest from the advisor right now because Columbia, in order for students to participate, to advocate, we would be in favor of a second C, is to have their meeting like a 2-location meeting,
Mhm.
right? The students could participate from up there. But that would obviously have to be a discussion between the full board to determine, is that something that we want to do? And then if there's interest here, but there's not interest in the full board.
So we could move it forward. It
Mhm.
goes to the board and then we specifically pull this out for discussion at the board level is one option.
Mhm.
The second is that we pull it today and ask to sit down with legal.
I think so.
Legal would have to come into the meeting, you all can't meet, just on the side, but however,
Yeah.
I do want to provide the other side of this, where it says alternatively, the district may wish to proceed as if the requirements is valid, but please be advised that this approach may be riskier for the district. There was a case where Los Rios Community College District was sued based off of, moving forward in this regard. That said, if the district wishes to proceed, given that there's a risk, as if the requirement to alternate between colleges were valid, then the candidate who received the plurality of the vote would be ineligible due to his or her status as an MJC student in a CC year. So if it's a Columbia year and we have the write-in students, so say for instance, as of this year, how this was Columbia's year. And there was a write-in, which was an MJC student who had the majority of the votes, that this student's trustee year would be vacant because the plurality of the winner of the person was an MJC student, which was against this policy. Is what this is, and I can provide both of you and I can also
That would
send
be
it
good to see
to
that.
trustee Hinton. This is from our lead counsel.
Because with it was just crossed out without any explanation other than that the review was requested by legal counsel.
Well, they get it down the road. I didn't
Yeah.
get a chance to start it off. I mean, when we're walking these through, I immediately start off as saying, this is a district policies and procedures. I'm saying this is the reason why this is crossed out, because we had a review of this based off of the current
The last
election.
the
That's
last
what
election.
happened. It was the last election, because this particular policy is not annually reviewed. The 2015 is,
Right.
so
But not the election.
not 2105.
Yeah, and this is the first time this has ever come up.
Yes.
I do think that because of the difficulties you've talked about with Columbia students getting here, that we should, if we do decide to continue the alternating, that we should have some sort of caveat or weakening of it that says we're talking about preference. This is our preference is to alternate. If nobody's available, then we go with that. With the MJCC.
I have a clarifying.
Yeah.
question. Again, I'm using AI to
Thank you.
kind of look at this, and so it's not a lawyer, but it does seem that there's precedent. If you have two trustees, it looks like it is, we can assign one to one college and one to another college. So in that case, it seems that there is the ability to do that.
Except for you have to rebuild your board dais, and then there is additional expense associated with two trustees.
Or I don't know if we'd have to do a big change with the dais. There's always an empty seat on the three below.
So you're moving your students down.
They could alternate that too. Well, there are ways to get around that. I think they'd rather be represented than fight over who gets top tier.
Well, this is
We
the
hope.
first.
We hope.
Okay, so I think for your committee, just so you are aware, this is a first reading. I
Right.
would encourage because this is something that would be at the larger board, the full
Right.
board's discussion in terms of you gotta take into consideration that if it is a Columbia student, that they're looking at attending from Columbia, not from here. So there will be a division of not having your full board in present. Then there's the whole thing of, do you all want to entertain two students? Because that will be something. So this is a good discussion to have at a first reading, so that when it comes back as a second reading, that we can then make that determination
Right.
before it's finally approved.
So it'll be in the board packet.
Yes.
Typically, we don't discuss first reading,
No.
but we can choose to.
You can
can
have
choose
asked
to.
questions, or that's why I opened the floor at
Yeah.
that point to take the question. If not, then it's just a first
Okay.
reading.
But it's okay publicly to discuss it amongst ourselves.
Mhm.
I think that's the best way on it.
Yeah.
And we can, the attorney's on site,
Yeah,
so
we
we can
can
ask her, can you stay?
That would be good.
This item could be moved up for discussion,
Mhm.
and then once it's over, then she can
Okay.
that's be on her. way.
Yeah, that's good.
And yeah, we could,
We can change the order of
Yep.
business.
Yep.
Do
okay,
that.
I think that's the best path forward, so that
Yeah.
more people.
And what we can do is we can pull this as just a one discussion item,
Mhm.
and then that will allow the
Yep.
board to have that conversation.
I think that's great.
Okay.
Can I do that?
Okay, yes, please.
And interestingly enough, we will be up at Columbia when we have that discussion.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
See how things align.
Yeah.
Okay.
Weather forecast, no, never mind.
Uh-oh.
Made that up.
Okay, so the 2010 is vacancies on the board. Anything there?
Nope, this one I really get. Sorry. My career.
That's right.
That one's real familiar.
Yeah. Okay. 2310, regular meetings of the board. Anything there?
That's good.
Yeah, this was in response to the board doing their organizational change. You all, as a full board, changed the amount of meetings you had at Columbia.
Of course, I voted against it because I want 3. Oh, well, how it goes. All right, 2340 agendas. Any question there? Comment? No? Yes.
On the, it's just catching my eye. So it would be on the policy, Graciela, on the second page, 9, 23, 40, okay.
Oh, I had that too marked.
What?
10 minutes? I thought it was
It's
4.
Yeah, I think it should be 4. And somebody changed it.
Each member of the public's allowed 10 minutes.
So this is an item that they've added to the agenda.
Right.
So not a public comment. A public comment is not an agenda item.
Okay, but this is where the public has put this on. I would still say less than 10 minutes. Maybe
Can you
5?
give me a instance where this has happened in the last few years?
Okay, the last few years, there was an item where there was a request to make a former employee name a building after a former employee. Now, mind you, the item was pulled and back and forth and everything, but that item was from the public. The public is the one that submitted that item. And so they have a certain, they have to go according to a certain timeline and things. So they submitted it. But if they were able to present that item, this would be, they would have like, what this is saying is they would have 10 minutes to present what their information is to the board. And then you all do the regular public comments, then have your discussion and move forward as such. But if you want to request limited time, that's.
Well, yeah, because it says each member of the public will be allowed. So if a group of people brought forward an agenda item, then each one of them, even if it would have 10 minutes.
No,
says
the
each
item.
member of the public will be allowed a maximum of 10 minutes to present or speak on the item of business the member of the public has initiated.
So if
So
it
one
is
member.
one type, that item, and they have 10 people talking, though they have 10 minutes total for that item on the
Is that clear to you?
agenda. You can rewrite it, but that's what that meaning is.
I prefer we just change it to 5 minutes.
I do.
I don't think there's
That much.
likely going to be a
that.
case of 10 and 10.
Let's do that. Let's just
Okay.
say 5.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. And I had nothing on 2340. I like the changes to 2355. About you?
I'm doing good.
2410, board policies and administrative procedures.
That was good.
With procedures also. I did have one thing I wanted to point out on page 2 of the procedures. Line 14. Policies and procedures needing modification or further direction may travel backward in the process by going back to constituency groups or others for final edit prior to going to the board. I just want to emphasize the word may, not shall. Because I think that gets lost sometimes. And if we need to clarify by saying something like at the discretion of the board, the chancellor and the board, I'd be okay with that.
Just a point of clarification, this is a copy of our steps. And
Right.
so this procedure portion is in relation to the actual movement of that policy before it gets to the board. So it's saying that if it gets to district council, there's a reason that they might send it back down into the lower level to the district PMP
Before it gets here.
before it gets to you all. It's
Okay.
not in relation to you all control it at this level. And so you all have dictated whether it goes back to the constituency
Okay.
groups. It's not for the constituency groups to come to the board and say, we want this policy back. They can
Okay.
request that in public comment. However, it's you all, your responsibility
Okay.
at this level to determine whether it goes. And oftentimes you all at this committee have said, we want more information, or we
Right.
want HR to look into something. So it then goes back, it travels backwards when you all then dictate that, not when the constituents, this is taking the overall, how that policy goes through that pathway.
Okay.
Does that
You okay with that?
Fine with that. I'm
Okay.
glad that was a fun.
Okay, 3,300 public records. You said you had some.
On the AP,
Yes, ma'am.
and I think it ends up being covered, but I just wanted to bring it up. So on page 1, line 17, talk about social security numbers being redacted. As I was reading through this, my mind went to hotel confirmation numbers. But then as I get to the backside, section 4, line 9. That might be where it fits better. I would like to see it added. It'd be
Yes.
row 9, Graciela,
Mhm.
where it says like personnel, medical, or similar files. I'd like to do like a EG hotel confirmation numbers.
That's good.
I think something that describes releasing private employee information, because technically it could be the employee's home address or these other things that we don't want to.
That seems to be covered in row like 31-ish.
Or because we can't release the address.
Maybe, well, that's email, home
Home
address,
address is not released.
numbers.
Home address, home telephone, cellular. Yeah.
Unless there's a strong resistance, I would like to see hotel confirmation, like those words added.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
I think that's good. And EG just means for example.
That's a tough one to say that personnel record or medical record are equivalent to hotel bills.
Yeah.
They really aren't, but is there a way in one of the other ones that talk about the protecting of the employee with the record, whatever it may be? I mean, yes, we talk about home addresses and personal.
I thought
Something that-
6 would do that for us, but the way it continues, it doesn't. It ends up being like identification numbers to vendors or contractors.
Mhm.
The way it started, I thought, oh, it could fit there.
Yeah, well, you
Yeah.
could say that not that I want to, if hotel.
Because again, we're talking about,
Receipts, right?
Okay.
Hotel receipts.
yes.
Okay, so then saying that personal information will be redacted from hotel receipts.
Personally identifiable information shall be redacted from, and again, I'm going a little far here on this, and Kim and Graciela would have to evaluate if it's already in there, or work with legal, but I hear that concern. And the hotel one is interesting because we talked about the example of someone can call and pretend that they're the assistant and get all the information,
That's right.
and nothing would then be redacted.
That's right.
Is this in the right step of the process that you could go back to legal and ask that? But this is a procedure.
This is a procedure.
Yeah.
But it could.
It could go back. My thing is, we have to be very careful because as you can see that most of these, as Graciela even pointed out, a lot of these are subject to a government code.
Right.
Whenever we redact, and I know this personally because I am the custodian of record for the district.
I was thinking of you when I said
Trust me, I've fought that fight. I mean, to the point where I said I will pay for myself, and that way it's not public funds, it's my funds, and so that way my information is not given out. However, whenever we redact anything, we are legally bound and held responsible to give a justification for such. So you have to make sure that it's per government code or something like
Right.
it's covered to the reason why you've given that redaction. So we're required to give the justification. We're also required to say who is the name and the title of the person who's doing this redaction or whatever. However, my thing is, I just want to make sure legal is going to give that information so we can be able to add that
Sure.
in here. For it's not something that says, well, that's not something that technically we can do. We're doing it just for the safety, because that's what it is. It's about the safety of the employee. you're providing something and that's gonna have their direct home address,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So I just need to, I
You're
think
okay to go back and
we can pull,
Yeah.
if you would like to pull this
Do
one.
would we need to change the 3,300 policy to say something about protecting allowable privacy rights? Legally allowable privacy rights. Could we do that there? Because then that's giving direction to the procedure to support what we're saying about protecting as allowed the privacy rights.
I think it's,
Of
there's that fine line. Is it just something that we don't want to give? Does that pose a risk to the district, right? And I think that's why legal looked into it. You know, when we spoke specifically about redacting that, we explained the rationale, but it's that fine line of, a lawyer could argue one way or the other.
So the law says that certain personnel, medical or similar, that those three terms come specifically from the law.
What were the three?
Personnel, medical or similar.
Yeah,
So in my opinion, this can be hard to draw a hotel bill to that, but can we find another area?
Yeah, well, I don't think it could be the complete hotel bill, but you could redact from the hotel bill those personally identifying things like your
yeah. So,
credit card number, for instance, whatever.
yeah, the credit card is under, that's financial information.
You're only gonna
We
get
already take,
for-
and
Right.
sometimes we take that out depending on the attorney. It just depends on the attorney. Honestly, it depends on the attorney. I'm gonna just say that. It really does depend, but the
Well,
financial
And
information.
when the
is-
attorneys look at these things, what they're looking at is has to do with district business. And what is just personal stuff that has nothing to do. So for instance, if they're looking at text messages or something or emails, what part of the email has to do with personal business and what has to do with district business? So they don't have to disclose things that don't have to do with district business. And our addresses should not have to be disclosed, especially with doxing going on. So anyway, okay.
And we can, for example, let's say one of you provide your itinerary,
Mhm.
right? Your hotel, your flight, before you provide it to the district, you can redact, like everything but the last two
Mhm.
confirmation numbers or your rewards number, right? So then the district doesn't have that because the employee did not provide it.
Our AP may
Yeah.
not want redacted items.
So I would
So I think that
suggest we
there
just-
lies the problem.
I would suggest that you all maybe pull 3,300. We take, if there's some language you want to put in there in the policy, that way they can take that into consideration. Our legal counsel will have to really finesse the wording to cover hotel confirmations, because it's not something that's in the law for that. Because trust me, that's why we had to go the route of safety of the employee.
What do you think? Jenny, you okay with that?
Okay with proposing a sentence that is added to the policy and then following up with the lawyer to say, this is the intent of this language. Is there ways to support that in the AP?
Okay.
So if you have a proposed sentence.
Well, I just thought of that. Let's see. Including access by the public that comply with the requirements of the California Public Records Act, while properly protecting allowable privacy rights. That's not my legal.
Lee?
Uh-huh. Employees.
Privacy rights?
Mhm. That's not right. I don't know, allowable or well, probably protecting employee. They'll change it, but that's fine. It gets the idea across, I hope. Does it, Jenny?
That's for me
Okay.
to, again, just to have the experts.
And we
dig
can check
through
it. Yeah, and we can massage it later based on what they say.
And that really protects us too, because it's saying privacy rights, which might be defined differently at different times in different ed codes. So
And
it's giving us,
Lucas and I are both doing the same thing here and looking at AI.
I'd be doing it too.
Yeah. But the idea of the public interest in disclosure, and this is where we're at, them getting that confirmation number, what is the benefit of the public of having that confirmation code? And so I think we fully agree with the direction you're trying to go, is how can we put it in such a way that protects the district?
And, and that's the kind of thing, while we're so careful that the district doesn't reimburse for alcohol. It doesn't reimburse. It's very limited as to what it reimburses. So if that's what somebody's looking for, they need to know that room charges are paid by the employee for things like that and not the district. So I get that, but they don't need my address.
Well, according to AI, confirmation numbers from hotel receipts can be redacted under the CPRA. But again, we can't rely on this lawyer.
They're not our lawyer.
I think it does make sense because there is some risk when someone knows a confirmation number. As long as you're providing the rest of the receipt, it seems logical that should be sufficient.
Mhm. Right.
I did attend a session at a conference I was just at on public records requests. It's amazing what can be requested.
Mhm.
And if you don't, like, lawsuits ensue. But I have found this to be fairly accurate.
Great. Great. Time, place, and manner, 3,900.
The AP, page 2. Let's see, line 33. Removal of signs. I'd like that to be just a nice line break. So that sentence, removal of signs,
What line is it again?
33. If you could do two, yep. Like, yeah.
You wanted a B?
Yeah,
Where's this removal of signs other
like
than
that
by
to
the
be a
posting?
I think then
Oh.
you would still need other.
Amy, is there a way maybe
Visibly
to, it's all bolded because it's first time in there, but maybe the direction could be that needs to remain bolded or underlined or italicized, whatever it may
Yeah.
be.
I'm just visibly going to do a line break,
Yes.
but that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I like that. I also had an issue with, up on 18 through 26. Okay. It says, those persons distributing printed material must make reasonable efforts to retrieve, remove, or properly discard material that is discarded or dropped other than in an appropriate receptacle prior to their departure from the designated areas. Okay. So it's possible, theoretically, hypothetically, that someone will come up and say, oh, I want a bunch of your posters to give to my friends, walk 100 yards and just dump them everywhere. And then the people that they took it from are responsible now for picking up the littering of somebody else. And that's not fair. And I know that's been done before. I mean, we have rules against littering. So why are they responsible for picking up things that have been discarded by other people?
So there are times where these people who are handing out literature, won't take no for an answer, right? They're really going to be in your face. And if we go to Vegas or some of these other places, and 10 feet by and the person looks at it and drops it on the ground. And so I think that's more what we're worried about. I agree with you. If someone takes a bunch of flyers and then intentionally is doing that, campus safety does have the opportunity to intervene and say, you'll pick those up and you'll dispose of those appropriately.
Not gonna say, but your policy says.
Well, I mean, again, not policy, procedure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you see my point there. I think that should be clarified, just. I get what you're saying too, but it's already a violation to, if they're shoving it at people and being aggressive, that's also a violation of our policy.
How would you do it differently?
I would just say that, those persons distributing, printed material must make reasonable efforts, to leave a clean area behind and pick up all their stuff when, to clear their, just like you don't want people leaving
Yeah.
their
I think
garbage
the
behind.
term reasonable efforts
You just put a
helps
period
us
after
already.
properly
right.
discard material, put a period.
That would be good. Yeah. And cross out the rest.
Yeah.
So to retrieve, remove, or properly discard material. Because the whole thing about that is discarded or dropped other than an appropriate
All
receptacle,
that.
is something that somebody else is doing.
And that's the part that you're not liking, right?
Right, that's exactly right.
So I've read this differently. When it says the designated areas that day, so basically they're out in the quad passing out the things. Someone takes a stack of it, they go over to Founders Hall, which is not in the quad, and they drop it. That's not, I don't read that they're responsible to go pick it up from Founders Hall. I think around in the designated areas where they're handing out things, if they see people then took it and dropped it, then, I mean, that's the designated areas. I don't think they have to go sweeping through this whole campus and then go up to Columbia too, because the person had a class up there, like, that's not.
No, I know that.
responsibility.
But I think just putting the period there is better. Are you okay with that?
I'm fine with it.
Okay, let's do that. And then, the other concern I had with,
Move the
A.
rest. Are we even from the designated areas that day?
where it says those persons
So,
distributing
right here.
printed material must make reasonable efforts to retrieve, remove, or properly discard material. That's, I
From
think,
the
Virginia wanted.
Designated areas that day?
No, just period.
My understanding is if you
Already.
share it, if you pass it out, you need to be the one
So
that
if you
cleans
look
it
at
up.
what Graciela's done on the screen, oh, you had it better before, huh?
Yeah.
She's saying get rid of the now gray areas in 22, 23, but leave the, so you're going to properly discard material from the designated area that day. And then again, that says, okay, you don't have to go over to Founders Hall. You don't have
This
to.
is that day that I don't think is needed. Like, if you're
I don't need.
passing stuff out, you're responsible for
Maybe
cleaning
also-
up from those areas.
Maybe get
From
rid of
the
the words
designated
that day as
Yeah.
well then, but leave the from the designated area.
Because I think if you don't say designated areas, then you're opening yourself
That's a good
up
point.
to all over the campus. That's where I
Well,
read
the
it.
designated area is what used to be called the areas generally available to the public, which is a huge area. It's everything except buildings and classrooms.
I'm good with this.
I think that.
I'm okay with it too.
I think if they're coming on our campus, I think if it was me coming, having a table to distribute, I wouldn't want to leave it messy
Yeah.
then. And I know maybe I didn't make the mess, but if it's my flyer,
That's
I'm
right.
not gonna want people to trample over it. I'm gonna pick it up and either take it if I can, use it again or toss it.
Mhm.
I think this is more clear.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, so look at A under fix. So it says, each college shall identify at least one outdoor bulletin board, et cetera, et cetera. What I don't see here is, could one group go and just plaster the entire bulletin board that's available for posting so that another group doesn't have any spot to.
Like a game of Monopoly.
Yeah, I mean, how do you
So
make it?
campus safety unfortunately is having to review
That-
these boards frequently, and if they see 12 of the same message, they will, again, that's campus safety acting on the behalf of the district, is going in and removing or consolidating those messages. And they are actively working with the groups and saying, you're hogging the board. We need to make sure that this is available for everyone. What
Okay,
they also are trying to make sure is everything else in here that no one else who's not authorized is removing those
Right.
when they're not authorized to. do.
okay, that's good to hear.
And then the college is also developing a third level document that does limit the number.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're in the
That's
works of
great.
completing that now.
As long as it complies with this.
Yes. So it is.
Would we reference
And I
that?
say that because it's a third level document
Says-
that we're rogue, basically.
They are definitely looking
Okay,
at
good.
this because it has been something that's being looked at, so yes.
Rafaela brought up a good point, since it says 8.5 by 11, you can't put two 8.5 by 11 in there, it's one page.
And we want to limit it to, is taking up a section of 8.5 by 11 instead of a document of 8.5 by 11.
Okay,
When I've observed the board, and again, I didn't pay attention to it for the first 8+ years of my career here in this district, but lately looking, and they are limited to a normal size piece of paper.
yeah. And for those who don't know, this policy was created as a result of a lawsuit.
No, it was there before. It was.
No, it was there before. I'm saying this particular wording was. Because because they paid $50,000 to students, and this was the agreement that was reached, and it's, so I'm always careful about modifying it. Because
That's why this particular policy was not modified by anybody but legal counsel. It then went from legal counsel straight to our chancellor's cabinet for input from the colleges, because they have to then have that third level document that is the
Right.
alignment. However, anytime this particular policy or procedure is reviewed, it is directly taken to our legal
it
counsel.
needs to be. Yeah, because before, the areas generally available to the students was the stage. That was it. And you had to dig to find out that it meant just the stage. So I just want to be careful that we are sticking with the free speech rules, and I'm glad that security is monitoring that board. Did you have any other comments here?
No, that was good. So that last
I want to look at the
one,
first.
I
Underlined it.
underlined it. Is that good? Or I heard I underlined or italicized, so I just wanted to verify.
I'm good with it.
Uh,
Removal of signs other than by the posting party or
I'm trying to
college
see
is
where it is.
prohibited.
yes, I like that.
Okay.
I like that. I think that's great. I like that a lot. Okay. All right, 68013, control of fixed assets.
No comment?
Any comment, Trevor?
Federal changed their rules. That's why we're taking it from 5,000 to 10,000.
Okay,
That wasn't just a local decision.
thank you. I guessed as much. Evaluation 7150,
Good.
ditto. Leave 7340.
Fine.
Employee travel. Nothing?
Nothing.
Well, we're on the same vein. Let's see. All right. Fine with that. Let me go back and find my green sheet.
When did we say our next meeting was?
May 4th,
May 4th, Monday.
and that will,
Gonna be, it's not April. Okay.
this is basically your April meeting because we don't have our first Monday, it falls on the week of the board meeting, so we have to go the week
Okay.
before.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
Okay, there was a,
So we'll have, this is the first reading and at the April meeting, we will pull out 3,300. So that one will go to legal counsel. So that one will not be on the agenda for the board. However, 2105 will be as a special discussion item, but it will still, we'll run that one separately from the group. If there's a case of the board wanting to move forward with two trustees, 2015 we're supposed to annually review it by May. So May has to be approval of a second reading, or, we had an update or a review. So if there's any changes, hopefully then we can incorporate that in that second reading for 2015.
Okay.
Okay.
And when we've had the discussion with the colleges about or about the student, it's always, you folks need to agree before, we inform the courts so that you folks can change the policy.
Yeah.
Okay, any other?
No,
Okay,
good meeting.
all right, so the next meeting of the policy committee will be on May 4th at 11 a.m. And that will be our last meeting of the season.
Yeah.
This school year, of spring anyway,
He did
not
it,
till fall.
but she went through, she said, they said,
Okay, there's that.
So we are